Okay, the second neurologic injury case to go over is the split brain patient. Now, this patient, rather than happening via stroke like the prior patient, this is a patient that's actually surgically created. So, this is an operation that's done rarely, though it is done in cases of severe intractable epilepsy. Intractable meaning nothing is helping. All the medications they've tried have not worked, and there's not much more they can do. In these cases, the patient might be having dozens of seizures a day. This is absolutely an unmanageable situation. So the corpus callosum is severed. What does that mean? Well, it means that the connection, the primary connection between the left and right half of the brain is separated. Now, when you cut the corpus callosum, you cut 96-ish% of the left-right connections. So you really do isolate the two hemispheres. Now, when you do that, the two hemispheres are not talking to each other. So if you can somehow present stimuli to just one hemisphere, you can see some interesting, strange phenomena. Now, for this case to make sense, we have to understand a couple of things about the brain. Nothing complicated, just a little bit. So, first, language is in the left hemisphere predominantly. Now, language uh, is in the left for all right-handed people and for 90% of left-handed people. So for almost everyone, language is in the left hemisphere predominantly. Next, motor functions cross hemisphere. Okay, so if this is my brain looking at you, this would be my, oh, that's going to confuse. Okay. If this is my brain looking out, my eyeballs are here. My left hemisphere will control my right hand. And my right hemisphere will control my left hand. Okay? So there's crossing of functions. Remember that. So language is in the left, motor functions cross hemispheres. Now go and watch this video, and I'll wait. All right, so assuming you saw the video, what did you see? Well, Joe, our patient, is very interesting indeed. But keep in mind, the only reason Joe has any of these troubles is because we make him stare at a fixation cross. This way, Joe is just staring right here. Now, in this kind of situation, that's not what I wanted. I guess that'll have to do. Sorry. So in this kind of a situation, when you present anything here, it will go to the opposite hemisphere. Okay? If you show something here, this is the right visual field. That will go to the left hemisphere. Left visual field goes to the right hemisphere. Right visual field goes to the left hemisphere. But that's only when Joe is staring at a cross. See, Joe, unlike the previous patient, Eric can't drive. No way. Joe can drive. Because all Joe has to do to be essentially normal is be allowed to no longer stare at this. If he's allowed to move his eyes around, move his head around, both hemispheres will get both visual fields and he's fine. Okay? So, what we saw in the video was pretty disturbing. Because remember, there's Joe, the guy we talked to, and then there's the biological machine. What you saw is that even when Joe, the man we talked to, the consciousness of Joe, didn't know what was on the screen, the biological machine clearly did. Now, this is not just a reflection of Joe's injury. This is a reflection of how the brain works. This is very important. See, the vast majority of what's happening is outside of conscious awareness, let alone conscious control. Now, you probably want it this way. There's almost no way that you could function if you had to do, actually, take away almost. There's no way you could function if you had to carry out all of your neural processes consciously. Completely untenable situation. You can't function like that. So maybe we should be grateful for the biological machine. You know, on the topic of consciousness, one parallel that we might be able to draw is if blood circulation is the work of the heart, consciousness might be the work of the brain. You can think of it that way. Again, I want you to begin to see the monistic perspective that you are your brain, your personality, your memories, your likes, dislikes, fears, phobias, perversions, addictions. They all arise because of the very specific makeup of your brain, the vast majority of which is outside of your conscious control and awareness. Okay, we'll come back to this topic with our third case, the case of visual neglect. That's up next.